We have a returning guest and a new guest on this episode of the podcast. Captain Mark DeCabia of the Rebel and his childhood friend and first mate aboard the Rebel as well, Bryan Youngkin, a.k.a. Shark. These two guys are absolute gems. Hysterical conversation, super experienced fishermen. The first episode that we did with Mark was a blast and has been our most listened to and popular episode so far. So super entertaining guy, wealth of knowledge. But in this conversation, we talk through the upcoming and ongoing winter fishing seminar season up here in the Northeast. We talk through many, many fish stories, get to meet Bryan, and Mark goes through how their season's going in Florida aboard the Rebel. They recap the 2021 canyon fishing season, talk about tournament fishing. It's just a really good conversation. Both these guys are hilarious, seeing them both, together and kicking back a few drinks and talking fishing. It was a true pleasure. So without further ado, please welcome to the podcast, Captain Mark DeCabia and Bryan Shark Youngkin. Welcome to the SeaBros Fishing Podcast, where we follow 3 words of wisdom. You can't catch them if you don't have a hook in the water. Always trust your instincts. And the last, you'll just have to keep listening. Stay tight.
Am I coming off or what? Get that down. Don't get on that.
Well, you pretty much know the deal. You can pretty much say anything you want. You can swear. We can edit out anything that you might
I do like
not
the
want.
one thing with your podcast, if you put like a couple swear, but then if you do the Zajac, boop,
Yeah.
Just like,
like Carulo was, he goes, just say whatever you want. I'm like, well, no one really cares about sailfish. It's like saying the best in T-ball. You know what I mean? And he's like, he goes, no one ever, you can't do that. You know what I mean?
Best at T-ball.
Yeah,
That could be the
right?
name of this one here.
Yeah, I like
Best
that.
at T-ball.
We just
Being
did
the
one
best
with,
at
we just did
T-ball.
one with OG, and he said some shit that we're definitely gonna have to bleep.
He was
out.
talking about the fucking Bible.
Without catching anything.
OG was like, what do you guys think happens when you die? And they're like going through the whole thing in paradise and that. My dad's just like, just turns black, baby.
Light switch.
Light switch.
Well, like,
They were
Oh my god! They couldn't believe it.
Oh, it was
someone
bad.
like that, like one of my partners in the commercial boats is a Jehovah Witness. So you want to talk about like,
Jesus.
so like when we write the check at the end of the year, he takes part of his check and he writes the check to the church and he preaches on his Sundays. Doesn't work. Doesn't matter. There could be 1,000-pound
Yeah.
bluefins jumping, physically jumping in the boat.
fish.
Do not go.
We've had all sorts of religious people in the boat, but to preach it to the point that you feel awkward
Like, okay.
being yourself,
and
it was
first
weird.
of all, you're on my boat.
Yeah, it was
okay?
weird. He's like,
I'm in
what,
charge.
what do you pray for? And I'm like, I pray a giant tuna eats the bluefish like right now. That's literally the only thing I pray for right now.
the tuna gods, right?
Everything sounds good, boys.
This is
Rolling.
pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Cheers.
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 Good to be up here.
To some winter
Cheers.
festivities.
Oh, yeah.
I can't believe you got
yeah.
snow here.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't seen snow.
Me
It's
either.
been like
Let me take a picture of this.
snow, rain, freeze, 50 degrees, 60 degrees. Taylor's driveway was like a fucking glacier until
It
yesterday.
was bad.
Well, you guys got pretty walloped up here in the fall, right, with those storms.
Yeah, we got one that was 30 inches.
But the
in
other
20
storms
in 24
though,
hours.
But what about there was like a windstorm, right? Didn't you
The
guys?
one right before Halloween,
Yeah.
which is basically what triggered us to haul the boats, was fucking gnarly, dude.
Yeah.
It was bad.
a lot of trees here. Like,
Fixed shrink wrap. Few of the boats tipped over in the yard.
It
that
was
sailboat.
It was 90-mile-an-hour winds recorded in Scituate during that storm.
it's a big breeze.
All our pillars in the dock, like one of the bolts broke off on each one. So we're holding like
Yeah,
two
the
bolts.
north side of every single finger pier had sheared off. There's one sailboat laid all the way over. Carver's boat dragged his mooring block from like the outer harbor.
couple yards, like 100 yards.
All the way in, did not touch a boat.
Like through the mooring fields.
200 yards, did not touch a boat. And then where the harbor master dock is like two big pilings there. The thing slid and docked itself with still attached to the mooring, dude.
Wow.
I'd say it was
wild.
probably 3 or 4 times the distance to the shed and a mooring field.
Yeah. Easy.
And not hang
Not
up
hit
on
anything.
Yeah, just that's just like that wouldn't be my luck. Locked between 38 other boats with the anchor of someone's boat through my boat. Just
Don't
not.
say that.
We have to basically babysit our boats during any storm, like any of those big storms we have. That Shark and I are always down there with. We have our buddy Tasha's a marina manager, and it blows 60, and we have to literally. No one shows up to even check their boat. It's me, Tosh, and Shark checking. You basically walk around all night, and we stay on the big boat and just have the lights cranked on and everything going. But you're like, okay, you own $1 million boat and you don't even want to check on it, or they live an hour away. Like, oh, was it bad out here? I'm like, was it bad? It's
a hurricane.
northeast 65.
It's a hurricane. What are you talking about?
fucking kidding me?
It's unbelievable. We had one boat. We're down there, shoring up lines, doing all that shit. And
Making sure other boats
making
don't
sure
hit
other
our
boats
boats.
aren't smashing into our shit.
Well, that's the most comical thing. Like, we look out, it's just a camaraderie of you watch over everyone else's stuff, and then it's like, oh, okay. Like a contender next to me was literally sinking. Literally sinking. It was 3/4 the way down. Like, and I could have easily just walked away. Like, I could just but I'm like,
no one can do that.
no one can do that. So, and I know the
do
guy, so I'm like, and everyone else on the dock is typically just staring at it. And I'm like, fuck. So I just jump on. And of course, the guy doesn't have his he goes, oh, I got my batteries off because it saves the juice. And I'm like, what? You need a bilge pump.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or God forbid you got to hop on and get out of it or something.
So the thing is held on by the ropes, and I just literally grab buckets, and I'm like, hammering down, bucketing, and it's just like pumping. Water's coming out of every direction of this boat. And then the guy doesn't even come down. You would think like, oh, there was people texting him pictures like, well, Mark's saving your boat. And it was like, thanks.
Yeah.
Just like, like nothing else.
You ruined my insurance job.
Yeah, exactly. Like, come on,
I wanted a brand new contender.
Exactly. Doing the right thing is always doing the right
How about
thing.
the one that just drifted by the bow of like 50 boats in the slips?
I'm staring at this like Sea Ray fucking sneaker of a boat. Out of nowhere, it broke off a mooring somewhere. We have the inner dock where we are, and the outer dock, Gilligan's Island at Mill Wharf.
60 feet between the two.
60,
Not even.
Yeah, there's like 60 feet between the bows.
Just
and
enough to
stern
like
of the boat.
turn our boat.
This thing came down. It never touched the boat. It came past the gas dock all the way down and then swung, missed the bow of Fortuna and line shy by like a foot, and then tucked itself right up against right up against the docks. No lines, not a fender in the boat.
We went by like
nothing.
40 or 50 boats with only 50 feet of clearance, and this boat was like almost 30 feet long.
Yeah,
Just
it was.
went perfectly down the channel.
And the fact that it does that during a storm is
mind-boggling.
And then docks itself.
But no one watches it. If anyone else is there, it would be like hung up twice. You know what I mean?
If you had a captain, driving, it would have been bumper boats.
Bumper
I know,
boats,
it's
you
like,
know,
off on captain,
Nope, the wind of the anchor just held it perfectly into the wind.
So funny, dude.
Just like it had a pilot on.
It's so true. It's so true.
That's just, that's boating. That's something that no one takes into account. Like, there's a lot of people that don't know the other side of that. Like,
so much extra time in that too.
Yeah. Oh, we get paid about, I figured it's
you
about
guys get paid.
13 cents an hour taxable.
Yeah.
We owe money after we're all said and done. That's why we figured how much money we make per hour. If you actually look at the actually time spent fishing, time spent working, time spent fixing everything.
Yep.
And that's a big part of it. Everyone thinks that, we just go fishing all the time, just like you guys. You just go out and just wreck stuff and just catch fish.
Not at all. It's a fucking passion job.
Yeah.
You got to get through the grind, and then you get to appreciate the fishing.
People are always like, what are you fixing now? What are you breaking? I'm like, no, I didn't break anything. I want to make sure we don't sink offshore.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's, it's good.
It is good.
How are we kicking this off, Bryan?
I got a couple of freshy random questions for Mark and Shark. That
Speaking of
sounds
which, how do
fucking
we get-
good, by the way.
You just
Mark
kind of
and
told
Shark.
them
Mark and Shark.
What's the deal with Shark? Why does everybody call you Shark?
Yeah.
Long story short, AOL Instant Messenger.
No way, dude.
That was my screen name. Way back when.
It originated during
a shark
dial-up.
bit your leg off or like something. No, it's an AOL. My girl got on. I got scared.
I got
What was your
attacked by a
screen
shark.
name?
Mine was Little Fred 03 or 07 or 77. Yours is like Freddy Boy.
Mine was
77.
Freddy Boy 77, which
Mine was Little Fred.
there's
'cause
not
his nickname
Fred
was
in our
Fred.
family.
I was tuna killer.
Had
Shocker.
Tuna Killer 69.
Yeah, like something. Actually, I would love to actually get that account. And I actually talked to Kenton about it. I go, do you remember when we thought I missed the messenger and like all that crazy stuff?
right.
But most people, I met Shark. So obviously Shark's been with me now. This is, I don't know, 12 or 13 years. But I met Shark. We both went to URI. And it was a senior. I was a senior and he was a freshman. And remember, we used to just throw bangers, like like we would have the paper, and I remember him just rolling up to my house. He's like, "I'm a freshman. I'm from I stay in the Hamptons, and I go fishing." I'm like, "Oh, come on in, dude!" Full rager. And then we've been friends ever since. So then when he basically graduated, he was always around during the summer, and I'm like, "All right, how do you want to come fishing?" It just started, and then it started from one thing. You want to come every trip, and then next thing you know,
It's awesome.
Yeah, small world.
small world. It's.
Wow.
You don't expect, some people just fall. Everything sometimes falls into place. And,
Yeah.
And Shark didn't, no offense, but he didn't know like fishing as like, so I've, groomed him and, he's had obviously a lot of experience now that, but it's worked out really well. He's one of my best friends and,
That's cool.
Yeah, it's
that,
cool.
and one of those things.
Makes the mate captain dynamic a lot easier when it's one of your
we
trustworthy
still have some
friends.
dynamics. You know what I mean?
The trust factor is like, I trust them to look out for me, on the boat, on the land, it goes a long way.
part of
Trust is like between the captain and mate, it's huge.
Yeah, that's
We were
everything, really.
steaming home this year. I took a buddy's brand new Muscle Ridge out, a 46 Muscle Ridge, and it was rough. It was southeast 25, and coming to our inlet sucks. It's rough. It's a couple people, get killed each year, or they get, boats get windows blown out, and it's pretty bad. And the guy who had the boat, a very veteran guy, and I remember Shark's just sitting in the back, and the guy's like, "You're not concerned?" And Shark's just sitting there hanging out. He goes, "No, this is probably just, I'm not really worried, like ready to blow." And the guy's driving is like, "You okay?" I'm like, "Just sit the fuck down and relax. Nothing bad happens if you go slow. You're not gonna just hammer through the inlet."
Yeah.
So, but trust is the number one thing, no matter what kind of, who you're fishing with. You got to have someone you trust, because someone's going to get hurt. Something bad's going to happen.
You'll be able to get someone else home.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing.
And then, it's a big part of it. I trust him with my own life. Like, figure this out, figure that out. And I'm sure he trusts, if I tell you, just trust me, like this is what we should do.
You said jump off the boat. I'm off the boat. I'd be looking at me like, you fucking kidding me? But
but there's, this is, the situation plays out. It's like a Brady play, right? So, if there's one guy, you got 2 minutes. I know nothing about football. All right, I'll tell you that.
Just catch the football.
This-
Throw it to
yeah,
him.
Analogy's lining up perfectly.
But
so
I
you're
know
good.
nothing about football. But that's a guy where there's 2 minutes left. You put every dollar.
trust him.
You always got to trust him. It just doesn't matter what he says. He's got the game time decision, focused. Whatever you're gonna do.
Yeah.
And we've won tournaments in the last minute of fishing. We've won tournaments in the first minute of fishing. It's just about trust. Trust me. Like, this is how this is gonna play out, and this is how this is gonna play out.
Yeah.
So, and that's something that doesn't really come with every crew. I mean, you guys are brothers,
And
which
it
is
takes
tough.
time too. It's not like something that just starts off and
No,
you're gonna
it doesn't.
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though he's your buddy at school, like, to get him on the boat and then still
Well,
you probably didn't even fully trust him until he was on the boat with you. Let's be honest. Yeah.
I mean, I work with Zajac, so I didn't trust him a lot either. But he's one of my best friends. But it's still to this day, him and I, we're best buds. But I don't know if I trust him right now. Like, here, hold this rope when he got the other eye tied to my ankle or something like that. When he goes to throw the anchor, So, but that's a big part, and that's something that it doesn't come easy for anybody.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I think communications is the other big piece too.
Yep.
Being able to communicate without talking and communicate with talking.
Yeah.
So I'll just admit right now, I'm a fucking asshole. All right? We'll just get this right out of here. Everyone's like, "Oh, it must be great going with him." I go, "No, not really. I treat everyone the same. Nothing impresses me. Nothing really shocks me anymore." But if you really want to see me,
you've been doing it a long time.
But if you really want to see me when I'm mad, when I don't say anything and I just sit in the tower or I just go upstairs and I'm silent, you might as well want to jump off that tower. You know what I mean? Just or hold yourself on a lobster pot until the next guy comes to fix you up. We've had a guy, we had a layup, 300-pound swordfish at the back of the boat, layup, tits up, which means the two, anal caudal fins are upside. It's caudal fins are upside down, brown, choking to death on a mackerel. I'm winding them in because it ate it. I just wound down, choked it. I go, Jimmy, grab the gaff. He reaches over. I go, in the head, Jim. He strokes it. And Shark was right there with the second gaff because he was going to let him go first. He goes, oh, I got it. Goes in the back. Basically, thing wakes up, does about three laps around the back of the boat, takes off 100 yards, does an aerial, and we pull the hook. So you can even imagine how mad I was. I just went inside, and I just sat there. I'm like, no fucking way. And I'm saying to myself, no fucking way that just happened. My boss is looking at me like, wow, that was some serious amateur hour checker move for you guys. He goes, I thought we were like a chess team. No, that was serious checkers,
Yeah.
But it's
God.
Yeah, but the crew thing is, we tell them to do something and you got to do it, but communication is key. And obviously I have to learn, it's like anger management, how to communicate with others, and play well in the sandbox, but yelling all the time because I've had a lot more experience than everyone else. So I see things basically 25 steps ahead.
Yep.
Like a Liam Neeson, you have to be 10 steps ahead.
Dude,
right?
Don't compare yourself.
Yeah.
Please.
Buddy, I'm 17 steps ahead of
I just
everyone.
pictured a picture of you
Hold
and
on.
a picture of Liam.
I will find you.
That's going down as another potential. I don't even know how to spell Liam. L-I-M.
L-I-A-M. Don't worry. I'll send you about 75 memes that we can highlight this, on all over the place. But it's a big, it's a big thing. But you have to see things when you're offshore, let's just say sport fishing, not just giant fishing. You have to see things coming. Mm-hmm. You have to know how time works. All right, you guys, you have to know that you have 2 hours to fish here with the tide, and you got about an hour of slack. You got to make the most out of it, and then the tide's going to run hard again, and then you're done.
Dope, yeah.
And you have 3 baits, and 2 of them are fishable.
Yeah,
all that
and
shit.
it's all managed. So it's you have to be 17. I always say we're 17 steps ahead. That's our advantage over everyone else. We have an advantage. We get to go fishing a little bit more, but at the same time, you got to be, all right, the sun's going to get high, the wind's going to let go. We all know that's the kiss of death, and it's going to go light and variable. No one's going to catch anything. So we know at that time we got to go catch mahis, or we're going to go catch tiles, or we're going to go daytiming, or whatever we're going to do. But we're not going to stay trolling here on the bank. We're not going to just drive around like Mr. Magoo, and just troll up and down. You're not going to catch anything.
Yeah.
We all know that. There's a time.
You're managing your time before you get to the point that you need to manage your time. You already know what,
And
where you're going, what you're doing.
You have to have a game plan. Like before we leave, no matter what, I have a game plan. We discuss it. Whatever time we're leaving, this is what we're doing. This is where we're going. We're fishing here. We're going to fish fast, 2 hours, 3 hours. And we always try to fish on my boat like a tournament. Everything's a tournament. Like we're not losing anything. There's no broken leaders. There's no crotch. There's nothing that's going to prevent us from not succeeding, because that's the practice that most people, because when you do get the right fish on the right day at the right time, it should just be a fluid machine.
Do you have what's your like calming factor on the boat though? Because I know with charters, I mean, maybe you don't have it, but like with us and charters and giant tunas every single day, you're not successful unless you have that calm factor. Yeah. At some point, you can be perfect with everything, but you still have to chill everyone out a little bit. Do you have that? Or
I'm pretty much just high.
So you're high strong the whole. Is everybody high strong on the boat?
For me, put out some good music.
Exactly.
Do you make everybody high strong too, or is it just you that's high strong?
Well, I'm high strong from the second I leave the dock. I'm like, I'm wound up like the night before. We might as well just leave the day before because I can't think, and no one can sleep the night before. And I'm just like, let's just go. I don't care if it's blowing northwest 30. I'll just jog out. I'll sit there. I could relax, and just. I do. I relax. It's like when we're jogging, I'm like, that's calm. Everything's slow paced. And then when we get fishing, it's, go, 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 go. and fish as fast as we can and basically catch as much stuff as we can canyon fishing and make the most of why we are there.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of it as well. But the communication, like I just go absolutely bonkers because it doesn't matter if we lose a 2-pound mahi at the back of the boat or it's a yellowfin or something. I don't want to lose anything.
Yep.
We're getting paid to do a job, and you should be successful doing it, not Buckner it in the bottom of the ninth and just blow it.
Right.
So that's a big.
Yeah, I guess it's one thing if you got full tension on the fish and you pull the hook and it is what it is. But if you're
hooks pull
a horrible gaff shot that you shouldn't have taken, you pull the hook out of the fish's mouth is a whole nother story.
Or I'm driving the boat and the fish makes a weird move and
it's under
or I pull the boat ahead when you shouldn't have pulled ahead. So that's a big aspect. But hooks are gonna pull. That's a big thing. Doesn't matter giant fishing. And I've had a lot of discussions lately about pulled hooks. You don't tell anyone about what hook you use.
No.
Because if I say, you guys should use this,
they're going to lose every fish.
Blow it every single time. And you're like, wow, he definitely set us up.
That is true because we've told a couple people like the hooks we're using, they change over. And
like the
I'm
hook
not so
that you
sure
do use,
Yeah.
you cannot. I will convey. You cannot if you get them with that hook, and we're not even discussing what hook that is.
Yeah.
So all you listeners out there, gotta listen to all the other podcasts. But if that hook is in the hinge, you might as well get the sawzall out.
Yeah.
Because you're not getting it.
It's not coming out.
It's stuck in there.
It's stuck in there. So, but the common factor with that is, I will say, it does have a ring on it.
Yeah.
So that's a big. Why it works. And that's the same thing, why we do seminars and, it's not about secrets. There's no more secrets in fishing.
Yeah, no.
There's people uploading pictures of the boat. I mean, you guys have cell phone service, but you have people with VSAT like, oh, look at this. These guys are fighting one. You know?
It is insane how the canyon fisheries changed so much even with that.
Yeah.
There's no secrets anymore. Everybody thinks there's a secret. There's no secrets.
The only secrets that we have is being, like I said, Liam Neeson, you got to be steps ahead and you got to trust one other boat.
Yeah.
So we work a lot with Teddy Prager, and usually we both go together. We try this time because he's one of the very few people besides Dean or somebody else. And there's very few people that we can actually trust. We're knowing what you're looking at. And it's the same thing what they look at. Yeah. Like, no, it doesn't look good. Or some people think that it looks good, but it doesn't really come together. So we work together. We'll fish 20 miles apart, and by inReach, we'll be like, all right, let's go. It's going to happen here. And then someone gets a bite, and we work together, and we both catch them. Because you have to be, working together is a big part.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter.
100%.
You could, everyone's on one end of the tow rope at some point, but everyone's going 100 and something miles. I don't need to be better than anybody else. I want to make sure that the other people, their owner, has the enjoyment of them. The same as that we have. So that's a big part of it.
So talk about last canyon season. How was Rebel sport fishing in 2021?
So
it was great.
I think,
we had a good year.
Yeah, we had a very good year. Obviously, fishing the last 2 to 3 years has been nothing short of stellar. Offshore, no, and inshore for that matter. Just fishing in general. COVID has just, obviously blown fishing on a whole nother level, but at the same time, the fishing is very good.
It's been awesome.
For everyone. Doesn't matter if you're a beginner, you're an advanced guy, but the overall canyon fishing has been nothing short of, I would say, good to stellar if you could time it right. And how to multitude your bites. But we started in May. I think our first trip was the end of May. It was Memorial Day weekend. And the first fish that we hooked in Northeast Canyon was a blue marlin. And I'm like, wow. So I know in my head, I'm like, okay, it's going to be like, I just know going fishing early in the year, like, this is the real Eddie. Like, he's here already? Yeah. Oh, everything's here. Like, game on. And we knew that right from the get. And then the second fish, I went back. What's the second fish we caught?
Mahi?
Yep. 20 pound out.
May?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's
when must have been real clean, good Eddie water, right?
64 degrees. So it doesn't matter. Most people think you need this hot water. Hot water. Hot water is junk. We don't fish in hot water.
You need the right water.
You need change, fishing on the blend always, but you need blue to green. It could be 70 100 feet down, but because in the spring it's cold, you got fog every day, you got, it's not warm out. So it could be 70 degrees down deep, real eddy water, but it's only 64 on the surface.
Yeah.
And you mark all the fish down deep anyway. So they're only coming up a few times a day, and they're going to come up to feed because that's where the squid are. So that's a big promise. People look for this, Gulf Stream, we got to fish from
78.
Yeah, 78, which is the worst thing you could possibly catch a tuna in.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're probably going to get your face ripped off by the wind vector of when anyone knows when you go from 50 to 75, it's going to blow 30.
Yeah.
So the smaller change, and you ask any commercial fisherman, any longliner, they fish on tenths. They don't want a 3-degree break. The 3-degree break is gonna bring in sharks, and they're gonna, like, a hard change is worse for their fishing. They like the soft, half a degree, maybe degree, and that's where they catch most of their fish on. That's when fishing around them, whole life. Yeah, and talking to all the guys. And my buddy Justin runs a longliner who used to work for me on the Canyon Runner, and he tells me all the time, half a degree is all I want. Not 5 degrees, not 10 degrees. He goes, because when you have the sharp change, you have all the trash. You have sharks, pilot whales, everything on the planet lives there. It's not just a small batch of fish that go on every spot. So, and you get mowed down by blue sharks, and you guys know that. All of a sudden, you have no blue sharks all summer, or whenever the water gets up.
1 week, it's
and then
boom.
it just the northwest comes, or when one day a northeast.
Yeah.
You're like, where do they all come from?
Northeast is the worst.
Yeah, it is.
So, and it blows them all in. They're all offshore there eating, and those poor beagles too. I'm sure they move in.
Yeah.
But
We had like a week where it was grand slam fucking shark fishing.
Amazing.
Mako sharks,
on
poor
tuna
beagles,
rods.
threshers, blue sharks.
All in one day, and
all
then giant
one day.
bluefins mixed in. It was
Yeah.
insane.
That's crazy.
It was great action for the charters.
Oh.
But, I mean, we weren't spending that much, but we were going through probably 2-3 coils a day.
Yeah, easy.
Easy.
I hope you're not going through 3 coils a day.
Not those coils.
Yeah.
The small
Small
normal
coils.
coils.
Just burning the leader.
Not those ones.
But the canyon fishing though has been, going back to that, has been, so we started with that, and then June came, and then it just was game on right from the get-go. Mid-June we had a real good trip. We had a couple good bluefin trips, because obviously the bluefins are offshore now. We know you could really dial yourself in to catch those 70 to 90 inchers if you
Sick
want.
fishing.
Yeah, which is good. But
You guys had some savage fishing down there. We had Smalley here last week before,
A couple weeks ago, yeah.
and he was talking about that nibble you guys
like I
had
said,
going on.
the fishing that we've had has been nothing. We don't know most of the time now which way to go. That's our biggest decision. And we ask the owner all the time, you want to go catch a giant tuna? Do you want to go catch 10 big eyes?
Options is insane.
Yeah, we have a very good port. Obviously, fishing has changed dramatically up and down the whole coast, and you can see a northward shift.
Yeah.
The guys in Ocean City are really struggling early in the year now to catch their tunas. It's not like it used to be where you just go out and catch them and wreck them. Now they have no summer fishery at all, and it's all up by us. And you could just tell by your fishery, it just keeps getting one notch.
Yep.
Just when you think it's like, oh, how could it get better? Something else changes.
Yeah.
But, the canyon fishing now, because now there's less pressure because you have a lot of fish inshore. So, which is good and bad because you don't have guys just driving around out there catching stuff. So you actually got to go hunting.
What are you guys considering inshore down there?
I mean, New York City Harbor, Rockaway Canyon.
You're right, yeah.
But
40 miles inside, basically 40 fathoms and in.
Gotcha.
Basically, so you're, let's just say, not your weekend warrior, but your guy with a couple outboards goes out and his 30-something footer and goes troll some yellowfins and chunk some fish and basically fishing inside the edge. But inside the edge, 25, 30 miles. And there's plenty of fish to catch. Most people just overrun them. They just have these David Hasselhoff boats and just hammer down and there's fish airing out. I can't tell you how many we just drive home and I'm like, wow, I don't know why anyone would have to go past here.
Yeah.
So that's a big factor that people don't use their eyes anymore. Everyone's so focused on the internet.
The reports.
It's unbelievable.
It really is unbelievable.
Autopilot.
Mark told me to go here. And meanwhile,
they don't let their instincts catch it.
Yeah.
Chime in when they're steaming out
like,
and you're in a mess of
fish.
shearwaters.
Yeah.
It's like, why aren't we just starting
there's
here?
thousands of shearwaters
And
flying around like
there's
Jurassic
whales.
Park. Just gonna keep rolling because that's where they caught them yesterday, and that's what people overlook, and that's something instinct
tails.
you can't take over, and that's what's still gonna separate me as a, captain as compared to somebody else who's just starting off, like, everything changes daily, every single day. Every tide change, it changes. Every day in the canyon, it changes. The water comes in and out, it changed, or the moon changes. But overall, the fishing is our fishing is very good May, June, and July. The canyon fishing has gotten exceptionally good. And then it just gets bad now. There's like this period where, I don't know, it's always right after the tri-state. It starts in a tri-state where it just gets bad.
Which is
the last week of July.
Into August.
In the third week of
right
August.
after Damon's tournament.
It just collapses.
Yeah.
And it's just like a total.
Is it just that moon, you think? Because Damon always seems
to be the best.
The moon, the storms, I think, have a lot. The hurricanes start rolling through them.
It changes.
We did have that actually. That was like
that made our fishing unbelievable.
Yeah, it did.
After that hurricane,
we were going through our catch logs for Damon's show this weekend, and was it Hurricane Henry? It wasn't a hurricane when it hit us. It was fucking dead slow. Yeah,
the one we almost got wiped out.
Yeah. You guys got hit by it.
It was dead slow fishing by us. After that, it was every day for like
25 days straight. We had to bite for 25 days.
We were out literally the day before because we had to fish a tournament. And we went, and I'm like, I don't know if this is a good idea because our inlet sucks on a swell. It's bad. I've had to wait a full tide change. I've anchored up with my buoy and waited 12 hours because the swell's so big that you can't get it's triple overhead. You won't be able to get in the inlet, and if you do, everyone knows when you're navigating in and out, you have more control going into it
100%
than driving down sea, and you better be ready to drive.
Oh yeah, you're gonna surf.
You're surfing, but if not, you got to bring the boat around to Montauk or something like that where you're not going in a big inlet. But that was a big problem, that we had, but it works out for some people, but having a tournament around that is not really. I disagreed with the tournament call that no, you should go, but one person gets hurt, that's it. Party's over.
Exactly.
It's not, and it could happen so fast that most people don't. They think it's fun. You leave, it's slick calm, and you come back and it's 15-foot swell. And the period
shit
long.
Can go down.
Yeah, you don't want anyone really getting hurt or any of that happening to anybody. It's just not. And people are nervous out there, like, oh, they get out there and they're worried about fishing so much, and then like, no, you got to get home to get through it. So
they don't think it through all the way.
No,
it takes the fun out of it for sure.
We gotta ask some of these funny ones.
I just want to I have one more question because it's all based on the bait for the most part. But what about bait trends last year?
Bait trends, meaning
what were you seeing for bait in the canyons, inshore? Are you seeing more year to year? So
we lost the sand eels for some reason, but we gained more bunkers and pogies or something like that. The beach, it's obviously I don't care where you are from Virginia to basically Maine now.
Pogies.
They've taken out,
whatever.
they look like that computer game Lemmings, like one just follows the other, just billions of them. Yeah. And the crazy part is that you don't see anything ever eating them. They're just like the safest.
But they are somehow.
Yeah, well, they are somehow. But like when you pull up on one of these pods, like you come on the South Shore of Long Island, the water is black on the beach. It's basically a half acre wide every pod. And there's not even a shark. There's no bluefish.
Strange, right?
Everything, it must be so full, is laying on the bottom. So we've gained that. We've gained a lot of squid. Most people don't know that. We have a lot of mackerels around. We have those chub macks down by us.
Yeah, we're getting more and more of those.
You're getting more and more of those, and I'm sure you saw the summer fish. I'm sure you saw Spanish, and you catch cobias and all kinds of other stuff. But the bait has changed. You guys need the sand eels. We need the squid. As long as we have the squid, we're fine. Yeah. So
we need the herring. We need the sand eels for little guys, but we really need to hold on to the herring. And we have a big decline
in bluefish. That's a big problem at the same time. Obviously, a gill netter, and we've used to have 1 million pound quota that we used to catch my 3 boats 500,000 pounds ourselves without a question. And last year, we only caught 5,000 between 3 boats. Wow. So that's a big issue. Like our biggest problem, we want to go giant tuna fishing out by, let's just say it down by Cox's, wherever we're fishing. Catching blues is the hardest thing. We're catching Spanish mackerel.
Striped bass.
How many bass do you want to catch? You want to catch 30-pound bass? Right. You need to catch 1 2-pound blue. You'll catch how many bass till your arms get full off on the wire.
Yeah.
But overall, the bait, it's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing, but everything changes, and you guys know that. We all used to do a lot of trolling. That's what you guys grew up doing, trolling.
Yep.
Put a spreader bar out. Good luck to you.
I think we trolled twice last year.
Yeah, handful of times.
Yeah.
A couple of times in the spring.
But it's changed. It's just not better. It's not worse, but it's just different. And people don't accept change. And that's fishing. They know this is the
100%.
way. This is the way we do it, and that's old school knowledge. Not any other way.
Just when you think you figured it out.
Yeah, you don't. And this year there'll be something else that we got to do. And a couple years ago, you guys had the big squid. You guys on
inundating us.
Inundating.
Last year was fine.
And then you had those little bonitas everywhere. Yep. Those great, but now you don't see one.
But we had the dogfish last year.
We had the dogfish horrible.
We didn't have dogfish for 2 years.
Summer dogs or the winter dogs?
Summer dogs.
Summer dogs.
Yeah.
We catch plenty of them. We catch plenty of them. They're Shark's favorite. Shark likes a nice dogfish.
Oh, I hate dogfish. I hate dogfish. And what sucks is the tunas are there. It's just like you're fishing one bait all day.
And they're big female summer dogs. They're just rolling around. They trash
everything.
They're just gumming themselves like, Peter Griffin rolling up to the thing. I want another one.
That's funny shit.
It's good. But the bait is always going to change. It doesn't matter, but you got to adapt to what works. But there is obviously fishery management issues that we have to address, but no one knows what the right. You could I think even if you shut the purse seiners down, it ain't going to change the amount of herring that are there. Obviously, we have some kind of northward shift that the water's not right anymore. The water doesn't have the same plankton, or it doesn't have the same bloom as it did, or
it's a shift in biomass. They're trying to cut down freaking recreational mackerel fishing.
Yeah.
It's like we haven't seen this many the last 5 to 6 years, I haven't seen this many mackerel in my entire life.
But I'll tell you this, they only stay north of, we used to catch a lot of mackerel where we are when I was a kid. That's all I used to do was go out in May, catch our bait for the whole year for shark fishing, whatever it was. And we're lucky now to catch a couple mackerels.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm almost tempted to drive my boat up there just to catch max and then steam all the way back home so we have good bait, because we all know you need good bait. Doesn't matter what you vacuum seal oil and bait, but not something that we do that's, not a little excessive, but I'm always like, we got to get these butters from a dragger. We got to do this. We got to brine this. We got to go catch this.
Dive into that a little bit. So what do you guys do with bait?
Fresh bait matters.
Fresh bait matters. Yeah. Don't,
you try to catch everything yourself or to get it
fresh. Fresh bait.
All your hook baits have got to be fresh. I mean, that's of some way, shape, or form, especially chunking and stuff like that. But your frozen bait, your cut bait, let's just say it's butters, they still want to make sure they're good butters. But the good thing that we have down by us, we have a lot of draggers. So some of our best friends are draggers. So we just literally pull up in, the CV and the skiff, and we're like, we got some bait, and here comes my buddy Danny Warner. He's just lobbing the bait into the back of the CV all over the sea deck. And, he obviously is the first guy on the friend list of who wants a yellowfin. Right. We have a large list, like, that comes back, it's a circle of trust of every Italian. Right? So we catch a yellowfin. I don't care if, my wife wants a piece of fish. I'm like, nope, Danny Warner, the electronics guy, and Jesse Getling, the guy who rolls our boats out.
And the bartenders.
Are the first people with fish. No one else can take a bag. I'll break your hands. I don't care if the boss wants it. Nope, not happening. But you have to have fresh bait. And it starts in May. We actually catch our own butters. We can catch butters on rod and reel.
No way, really?
Yeah. They live on the pilings.
Just on sabikis?
No.
No.
You got to, go to
you
Walmart.
Have to caress them.
Yeah, no, there's a whole theory, and you got to go to the Walmart and buy, the pre-snelled 4-pound trout hooks.
Okay.
I'm sure you guys have seen it.
I'm fucking into this.
Right? Something you get a salmon egg on.
Okay,
right?
yep.
We take some kind of Mickey Mouse rod. You got to use 6-pound or something like that, because there are only a couple of them. And you throw little pieces of clam on the piling. They swim out, and they look like piranhas in the water. And then you just kind of just dip it in. You watch them inhale it, and you got to whack them quick. And then, but they're gorgeous butters. They're 1-pound butters.
No way.
And there's silver as anything. And you put it in the water.
I don't think I've ever even seen a 1-pound butter.
Yeah, they look like pompanos, the ones we catch in the spring.
Wow,
that's cool.
So you vacuum seal them, put 6 or 7 in your freezer. And that's one thing that a lot of people do. Take care of your bait. don't put 25 pounds of good butters frozen together, smushed together where they don't.
25 pounds of ice.
Yeah, you only need 6 or 7 in a vacuum bag, and put them away. And then because you're not blowing through those baits.
Yeah.
If you blow,
You'll go through 6. You waste a pack of 6. Big deal. But
exactly.
a pack of 25.
Right. You don't want it to frost all.
Exactly. So that's something, improper carrier bait. When you come back, when you put it in kosher salt, baking soda, brine it so it stays all luster. Then we vacuum seal it and make sure it goes in a good freezer, not like the mom's home freezer where it's only 30. It's got to go into a walk-in where it's -10 and freezes right away. And don't, obviously we all have trials and tribulations, but don't put all the bait in one tote so nothing freezes in the middle.
Yep.
And it's pretty disgusting when you go to pull it out.
It is.
So yeah, squid, we've had some nasty
Are
squid.
you having to remove all the guts and stuff like Hydro got them too? Or
No, we throw them in a separate cooler with a slush for 2 hours, baking soda and a thing of kosher salt. Let them sit there, let them all get hard, and they're all shiny. We wear gloves when you're doing it, like surgical gloves, because your handprints will take the scales right off because you have oil. The oil kind of reacts with any fish. Most people, just like a ballyhoo. Yeah. And then we just lay them, basically just pat them down with paper towel in the bag, seal them up, throw them in the freezer.
Nice.
But that's something that we do more than anyone else.
99.
But it makes a huge difference.
Right.
Yeah.
Just those 6 fresh, huge hook baits at
And
night, I'm
it's
sure
all
it makes
little
a big
things. I
difference.
don't tell you. Everyone has 180 fluoro. Everyone has hooks. There's no secrets.
But you're spending the time way ahead of time, just like we were talking about before, getting prepped.
Yes, the
You already
preparation.
know what those.
I used to say preps 90% of it. Preps
Yeah.
like 98% of
It
it.
really is.
Fun though when you prep for
It is fun.
everything and then it
Anticipation.
works. So you're like,
Yeah.
Right.
Effort was
yeah,
worth it.
that's like,
And it works for us, and then you don't see why someone else caught them because they didn't put the effort in beforehand. And all big fish are caught at the dock. It's been in the.
No, with your squid and stuff, are you catching those fresh for the most part?
So the squid we have 2 options of us getting the squid. So we get squid from the draggers. We get a carton, a 60-pound carton. Like, Danny just throws the carton, and we go over the commercial dock, and he goes, "Oh, I got you some butters. I got you some whiting." And obviously we have the potpourri of a bait, and it's all taken care of. But every single trip we have that. It's not like one trip. It's, calling Danny 20 times. Are you going to haul back? And then during the tournaments, we actually don't even wait till he's at the dock. We drive out to him. We have a buoy set up. We throw him. He has the buoy already, and he's got
the good stuff.
We have bags already tied up. He puts everything in a bag, and he throws the buoy over on our way to the tri. We've done it multiple times on our way to the tri-state. Yeah, and we just pull right up, and he throws the buoy over and care package, and he's getting the first couple bags, which is very important.
Galvin did that with Klondike bars with us a couple of years ago.
We like
the old
Klondike.
buoy trick with Klondike bars
That might-
and Chick-fil-A. We did Chick-fil-A.
I'll tell you one thing. You want to know what calm me? That Klondike bar might calm me down a little bit.
There's something about a Klondike bar.
I have a
that
sweet tooth that you guys want to know what calms me down. Like
gummy
Klondike
bears.
bar.
Yeah.
Gummy bears.
Yeah, Tommy Howd gave me a couple gummy bears. Yep, there you go.
Are you picky about the brand of gummy bear? Does it
Yeah.
have to be those I think I know the ones you
Habro
probably...
or whatever.
Yes.
Habro.
Yep.
The true originals.
True
the
original.
organic nasty
Right.
ones that my wife bought one
Yeah,
time?
screw those things. One time.
We're going to BJ's or we're going to Costco. Give us a 40-pound bag. You know what I mean? Where they sell Tri-State. When Tommy comes with, like, "Oh, can you get me some gummy bears?" Don't worry, pal. 20 pounds. Everyone's like, "Oh, I can't."
Oh my god.
And it'll only be certain colors. And gummy bears are lucky. We all have lucky foods. We have a lucky T-shirt. We have a lucky everything. Yeah. Gummy bears are part of it. And
I love gummy bears.
I want to go back to the chunking.
Go back.
debate.
Let's
Can
go back.
you we'll kind of break this up a little bit. Can you go into some nighttime chunking tactics, what you guys are doing, how you're getting set up?
so it starts with
Positioning.
it starts, I'm going to say it starts at the dock, just like we're just talking about.
Right.
Cut your bait at the dock. No one pull out the Dexter went out there and cut on something. Someone's going to cut
In the
their hand.
dark.
In the dark.
Yeah.
On that brand new S138. You got the paper towels. No. Exactly. You don't even have,
That's never happened.
no, it never happened. Oh, we got a couple Band-Aids, not just one. So, get all your bait cut. And what Bryan does, he cuts all the bait. We have a cheese knife. You cut all the bait in totes. We keep it in bags, keep it fresh. Don't put fresh water on it. Most people are like, oh, there's a hose. We'll thaw the bait out quicker.
Yeah.
No, it rots the bait. Everyone knows that. Just why you don't put fresh water on fish.
Yep.
So get all the bait cut. We get out there, drive around, and look. Not necessarily where we're catching the fish trolling, because you're always going to have everyone in a cluster right at the end. But I'm looking for a spot, like if we're just going to go chunking at night offshore in the canyon, you're looking for a spot that's close to the edge between 600 and 1,000. If we can anchor up and not tie up, that's obviously important because I'm a commercial guy and I'd rather just throw the hook and it's, a lot easier. Or if there's no wind, we'll let it go on the drift. But if you have certain conditions, you want to be stationary.
Anchoring definitely, or tying up somehow definitely makes a big difference.
Stationary, when you're just straight chunking in the canyon, the more stationary you are, the better off you're going to be. And it's relates to what you guys do.
Yeah.
All right. You anchor up, you see Weber's on one end of the bank and you're on the other, and Weber goes off, .com goes off, whatever, someone else goes off, and it's coming. Mm-hmm. So, and you just want to make sure, me personally, you want to be on the front end or the back end. You do not want to be the guy in the middle.
Yeah.
So if there's only a couple of us, I kind of position myself, always try to be on the front end. Obviously, whatever the way the tide is running, you want to be up tide of everybody.
Yep.
So you take the first drift because the fish are going to feed into the tide or they're going to come up to the bank and feed. So usually right off the bat, I'll just take like a test drift. So you know how fast you're drifting. Obviously, if it's under a knot, you're good. But if it's anything more than a knot, sometimes you're going to be better off. Obviously, it sounds crazy, but getting stationary, because if you could fish in a position where the fish are just going to lay underneath you, you'll hold them the whole time. But drifting, your bait doesn't have any presentation. It's just you have helicopters and you have, we call them chrome spinners. You see the butter twirling.
We call them Sikorsky's.
Yeah. There's a wake when you reel it in.
Yeah.
And then that's where you need the fresh squid. That's where you need to have fresh bait, that streamlined bait that can fish in a lot of tide.
Yeah.
A herring, a mackerel, all that butters doesn't really work that well because it's going to spin. You need to fish a squid because it's just going to lay in the water. It's going to swim right.
Right.
So you get yourself set up. All right. And Bryan and I do the same thing every night. Our boss cooks dinner. Of course, we have this exorbitant amount of food that comes out. He goes, all right, I'm going to cook. You guys get everything ready. Him and I are out back. We set our 2 or 3 chunking rods and our 1 sword rod out. And Bryan just takes the scoop and you throw up tide. About 15 to 20 chunks up tide. And consistency of throwing the bait. Because most people aren't consistent. That's why you need a lot of bait.
Are you waiting for it to disappear? Are you waiting a certain amount of time? Are you kind of just throwing it in? Shooting the shit
wait till it disappears. I mean, whatever. Sometimes I wait, a couple songs. I just do like whatever. Like
throw a little bit.
Yeah, just to make sure you get nice little rhythm and just like breadcrumbs, just leading the fish towards you.
Yeah.
If you don't have any marks, don't throw a lot of bait. If you don't have any bait marks, you don't have any fish mark, don't be like shoveling,
trying to get them to.
Yeah, they're not going to come to you. Over chunking is a big thing, I think. You got to know 100%. When to hold them and when to fold. It's just like any card game. And at a certain point, and you should know by what other people are catching from other reports, be like, okay, did you get them early? Did you get them late? Sometimes the fish don't come to the bank until 3 a.m, meaning that they come from 400 or 500 fathoms and they charge inshore at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., and that's when they're coming to feed.
Eating, yeah.
And that's when you want to throw your bait.
Yeah.
And that's when you got to make sure you manage your bait. People don't bring enough bait to begin with because of the cost of bait.
Storage, pain in the
storage,
ass. Yeah.
everything.
Lack of sleep
they bring
it
4
takes to
flats.
use it.
4 flats is 100 pounds of bait. We'll go through 4 flats in an hour if they're coming. And if you think about what a tuna eats, they eat 20 chunks at a clip.
Yeah.
And then they spit them up and then 10 other fish try eating them. It's not a lot of bait if you think about what 100 pounds of cut bait is. It's only a tote.
Yeah.
You could go through that in not too long. So knowing how to manage your bait is just as important as when to throw it. And that's something that's over time, knowing how to do it. Because most people they get one mark and they're just going to start heaving. No, until the rod actually bends over, that's when you throw the bait. Mm-hmm. The most important thing, a rod, say you put a live squid out, a sardine out, and a butter out, say 60, 90, and 120. And whatever rod goes off first, say your dead squid goes off first, change out one of the other 2 rods. Change out the butter, put another squid on. Squid goes off again, then just give them the squid. Sometimes they only eat the squid. Sometimes they only eat the sardine. It's always been like a big debate when you put a sardine out. Everyone's seen this. You put it down 90 feet and you reel it up and it's like a cartoon skeleton.
Yeah.
Now, did the yellowfin, were there 5 squids sucking on the sardine when the rod went off? Or did he eat the actual sardine? That's always been a big debate. Me and Zajac, like, you know, the thing's sitting down there, he's watching the tip and the squids are just hammering it. But then a 40-pound yellowfin's like, oh, look at this, 2 free meals.
Of a squid.
Yeah.
I think they definitely eat them with the squid attached.
Oh,
I mean,
100%.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we've had the squid attack the herring and stuff, and you go off and you're like, you know, every other rod has squid on it, and you're like,
Had that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Had that. So that's an important part too, but that might be what's working. And you got to always we try to keep one different thing out all the time. And we try to keep our sword rod out all the time.
what are you fishing your sword rod at? Like a couple 100 feet, just
So
way
let's
out?
just say like 200. I
And
don't.
are you getting that way the fuck away
No.
so you can chunk inside of it, or doing the opposite?
I fish everything off the tip.
Right off the tip.
I want to say we've used how many balloons? Balloon rod. Maybe a dozen in the last 10 years. Dozen balloons.
Really?
Wow.
That's it.
So you're
That-
fishing
that's
these
something.
bait at 60 and 90 feet.
Well, your recorder's right below you.
Yeah.
So most people don't think that. When
Yeah.
you scope out, it's one thing you want to put a sword rod out up high.
Yeah.
That's whatever. But tunas, when they're right underneath you, they're just passing through. That's it. And that's something that you're only as good as your teachers. Phil Delaney, who I've worked for on the Canyon Runner, and I've spent 300 nights with Phil. And he goes, don't put a balloon out, put the rods off the tip. And when you want to catch numbers, I could tell you this from experience that you're going to catch more numbers going off the tip because you save time. You don't have to, you just set the bait out. Let's just say it's got to go to 90, sinker, drop the bait right off the tip, put it in a rod holder, rod bends over.
Yep.
When you got to set it with the balloon, you got to set the bait, then put your balloon on, and then smoke it out.
Yeah.
So you're adding.
You're fishing everything dead too, so it's
Yeah.
not swimming around. It's gonna get tangled
Yep.
or anything.
And squids live aren't really moving too much either in the
No, they're
tide.
just like
Yep.
pull
Yeah.
back on
Yep.
themselves. But that's something that not a lot of people know. But,
or would feel comfortable.
or yeah, and we have most of the time it's 2 down rods, 2 chunking down rods, you know, with your 60 or 80 fluoro.
Mm-hmm.
Our sword rod on the opposite side of the boat with a lot of lead.
Yeah.
So it keeps it kind of away.
Staggered, yeah.
Yep. And in the Winthrop tool butt obviously helps everything fish directly off the tip.
Right.
And then we put like a high rod out, which we have an egg sinker, like let's say a 1 ounce egg or a 1/2 ounce egg, that we just feed it out maybe 100 feet and just lays in a rod holder, kind of like in the chunk line. And sometimes that one goes first, but I would say 90% of the time it's the down rod
Yeah.
that goes. And then when you get them going on the down rod, you should look at your recorder, which is right there. And,
Yeah.
and
Then you can dial.
And then you shovel.
Yeah.
Then you start shoveling the bait. And then you get one coming. And the most important thing when you get that, the rod bends over, that's the last thing I'm worried about. I'm like, first thing I'm like, throw some bait, you know, and you get them coming because they don't just send one.
Yep.
You know, especially catching yellowfins. There's just, they send the scout in first. And if the scout, you don't break them off or you lose them, you're fine. So don't.
Yeah, it's interesting that Kenton was
good
talking
info.
about that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the first fish he hooks on the dangler, he needs to get in. If
Yeah.
you lose it, it's
Oh, yeah,
over.
the first
You,
fish
you
is
don't
key.
you don't send your guy with the white polo from work, you know, on the first tuna he's ever caught at night. I can tell you that. and I've gotten into multiple fights on the Canyon Runner. Like the rod bends over and I grab it and start reeling the fish in just to get them coming, like just to get the fish in a, kind of a circle. Not after they do
Right.
that 50-pound yellowfin run where they run 100 feet and they stop, run 100 feet, and you kind of just hold the rod and kind of just get them, you know, settled. And then, you know, then you can give them to your guy and he just sits there and does a couple laps and gets that going. Most of the time, you know, my boss, he'll take the rod first and he'll just kind of tend it. And then when Shark clears it or he's all set or he clears the other rods, whatever we got to do, he'll grab the rod. I grab the gaff. My boss has another rod ready to go. As soon as I gaff it, he knows he's firing the rod in right behind me.
Yeah.
Right exactly where it is. It's got to be a fluid machine to
Yeah.
constantly put numbers up. That's a team
Communication.
and it goes back to your communication. It goes back to, it's just as much of a team sport, just like anything else. Like,
Chunking especially, I feel like. I mean, it's such a perfect harmony. Like when you're doing really well at it, whether it's fucking bass in the river or yellowfin in the canyons, It's a perfect, well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
When the fish that you've lost, the first fish that you've lost, when they come to the boat, do you think they're going back and like all stressed out and it just signals to the school that it's unsafe?
Yeah. Yep, most of the time.
Yep.
And then those are the nights that you're, instead of catching 15 or 18, those are the nights you catch 4.
Yep.
5, and it's like a pick, and you catch like a straggler, and then you catch one, and then nothing happens for an hour.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa, where are they? You know, I think it's just, that's the way that happens.
Makes sense.
The most important thing, when you get them going early, if you got them coming, let's just say it's the sun sets at 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock they're coming, you better be ready, because you could do your number.
Yeah, strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah.
Right.
I can't tell you how many nights we're done by 12. You know, we're a lot of times,
awesome.
and we don't want to, my program doesn't, we don't want to catch 35 yellowfins at night. Like I've gotten threatened to get fired. I don't want to catch 30. No,
good.
I feel like
he turned to me like one of the first nights. He goes, "This is great and all. I'm really glad Phil taught you well. But you do this again, you're fired." You know, he goes, "I don't want to reel in 35 yellowfins. I want to reel in 5 150-pound or 140-pound yellowfins, anything like that."
Yeah.
So we have a quality type program where we want to just catch, you know, obviously our big yellowfins, our swords, our big eyes, you know, and we fish heavy leader, and we're fishing, you know, we're not trying to do that number. We will do the number to kind of get our fill-ins. We call it like our you know, like our bartending bill. Like, oh, we need that. We always say, oh, we need 2 or 3 elephants for this person. We have a little list. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We need a couple mahis for this person. We need, you know, this for that.
Taking orders.
Oh yeah, we take, and it's tuna goes a long way.
It does.
Tuna goes
You'd
a
be
long.
surprised.
It goes
It really
a long
does.
way.
Like,
You don't know. Everyone likes a bag of tuna at the end of the day, because no one's going to the store, because we all give each other tuna. But when you fill a Ziploc bag, that's like 5-8 pounds. It could be, and usually the bags, because
It's like $150 a tuna.
no one's going to the store
Right,
and buying that.
No.
And that's something that is irreplaceable.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
that's
Totally.
a big part. But that goes a long way. It's just a favor of, you know, a gesture. But one person's trash, you know, the guy who's a dragger who goes, oh, I don't need these butters, you know, he saves them for us. That's our gold.
Yep.
And it works back, you know, the opposite way.
I think out of most professions, side tangent here, fishermen trade a lot. Not just bait and tuna, but like
the
fucking
water.
electrical work at the house for a job, plumbing, like whatever.
Oh, you guys should see my house when I had the barter to get my house done. There was a lot of spreader bars going out of my house, and Sharks helped me rig my painter, who is a very good guy. I'm not going to mention him on the podcast because I don't know if he's ever going to. But he has dropped some tackle off that when you go to pull one spreader bar out, I'm like, Shark, pull this out, and there's 40 attached
to it.
And he goes, can you guys like tune these up? You know, I'm like, what did you do? You know, it's
amazing.
It's covered. It got scales on them.
That's most people too. That's what's scary.
Well, that's what's scary. It's like, are you serious? Are you for real? How do you put sneakers on in the morning?
I gotta ask this now. What's the funniest shit you've ever had to repair on a spreader bar?
I got some good ones.
No, I've had some good ones. I got screamed at. Once again, we can't mention names, but I get an email saying, Mark, please call me. You have defective hooks. I want my money back. Whatever it was. And I was building, you know, okay, no problem. Call them. I pick up the phone. And it's like when you do something wrong when you're like 10, 11 years old. And I had the phone 3 feet away, and you could feel the heat and tension. I'm like, what the fuck? Are you this for real? Like, what'd you lose? The Mid-Atlantic 500? Or you move the 40-pound yellowfin? You know? And, it sucks. This sucks. Every fish blew up on it. Rah, rah, rah. I'm like, okay, sir. Well, here's my address. You know, I'll do the right thing. I'll send you whatever you want. You know, it works for me. Please send it back. You know, a week goes by, I don't get anything. I'm like, all right, okay. This guy obviously is like,
Tell me it was another brand's friend.
No. So it shows up.
Yeah.
All right. And obviously you guys have built spreader bars. You would think you would get like an 8x8x40 box.
Right.
Right. What it comes in is a 9, I'll never forget, 9x12x16 or some weird, like flat octagonal. It was octagonal when the UPS guy dropped it off. I remember Ashton's like,
is that a word?
It is now.
it is some weird shape, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? You know, it has 8 sides. You know what I mean? So I remember opening it, and it was like a slinky. It was like, sweet. I'm like, you know. So I pull the thing out. I'm examining it. I'm looking. And I'm
Examine.
Yeah, oh yeah, because everyone knows nowadays. Like you pull it out. I got gloves.
Yeah.
I'm like, who knows? It could be like a chunk of fish still on it, which people sent me. Bait still on the hook.
like lips of tuna fish.
Yeah,
still on the
bluefish
hook
lips
bait.
on the hook bait.
Yep. So I pull it out, and I have like a rack, and I put it on the rack, and I'm like looking at it. I'm like, what the fuck? Like what is this? Like, and I go to grab the hook, and the hook guard is melted. It's crushed onto the 7691. It has had so many bites where the squid doesn't have a tentacle, but it has the hook guard completely, one with the hook. Like the Koga has now inherited plastic. It has gotten so hot that it's just adhered to the. I'm like, what the fuck? Is this for real? I go, is someone? And I like look at the name, and I call the guy, and I just want to make sure that no one's fucking with me, And I'm like, so and so, sir, did you look at the hook? Yeah, the hook was fine. I'm like, well, sir, can I send you a picture of it? He's like, yeah. He goes, oh, that was supposed to come off? And I'm like, oh, mother of God. And this is a guy who's very successful in life. Very successful, brand new Viking, everything, any kind of boat. And the fact that he didn't even look at it before, it's one thing when you reeled it in.
Yeah.
But the fact that you didn't look at it before he sends it to me, it kind of questioned,
Unbelievable.
So that was one of the better ones. The knots on the main leader.
That's the best.
The knots,
the best,
it's
a perfect.
It's so
knot.
tight. It almost is the same diameter. As
you want to know something? Yeah. That guy could catch
100 tunas.
120 inches all day long. 100%. It will never part off.
On us.
Yeah.
2 seconds.
The leaders are so smoked. And I usually, that's Shark's job. I'm like, here you go, Shark. Start cutting. And he's just like holding it. And just like comes across with the shears. Because that's all you could do. It's just like, he's like, oh, if you guys can you save the wings? Because you don't want to pay, the extra 6 cents to have the wings done.
Yeah, it's
and like he cuts it off. And I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
But the adhering the hook guard is the good one, but the knots are good ones.
Trying to think of one. We had
hook
one
guard
at
happens
450 pounds.
But the
hook guard happens more often
I
than you
could
think.
see that.
I could see that.
A lot of stories about him.
And what most people want to know is, why is there a hook guard? Well, legally, when you ship stuff, you're supposed to have a hook guard, so someone doesn't fire open a box and little Johnny gets it drilled right through his
12-0 through the hand.
right through the his femur or something, or the dog gets it to the face,
or the UPS guy gets it delivered into the front door.
That's a little.
I think the
tackle.
octagon box is probably the most impressive out of all that.
Yeah. When you show up and it's been wet multiple times and shift, and you're like, what is in here? You know what I mean? It looks like something, that Eddie brought in Christmas Vacation. He throws up with the Jello.
Yeah.
The box is leaking. You're like,
amazing.
Okay, this one's going to open up outside. We're going to open this up outside. So, but that's
you got like a bomb suit on, fucking opening the spreader bar box.
And then people literally dropped off ballyhoo with ballyhoo still on them, or like chunks of like their a sancocho, the head still wired to it. I'm like, okay, you wouldn't think, And now my new rule is, and we still do a good amount of private boat rigging since we're fishing a lot now. We kind of toned that down a little bit, but we still take care of about 15 to 20 boats. But most of the time they show up and it's scary. Do you put this in the water, or the slinky wrapped around the hand, that it's the size of,
right.
That actually, I get anxiety looking at it.
Yeah.
One of people want to know what makes me think.
Yeah. Imagine trolling that.
Oh no, they troll.
Oh, they do.
They know.
Imagine you trolling that.
No, because my leaders are perfectly stretched, and then this guy's fucking double headers all day long, and I'm sitting there like, really? God hates me today that much? Really? Or is that for real? Is this really going to happen today?
Like that "this is fine" meme with the flames all around. This is fine. Yeah. I would say a funny one we've seen is like a 400-pound.
We've had weird snap.
snap swivel to snap swivel.
Directly-
Very popular.
I like the
We
snap
had-
swivel with the hook.
Yes.
Yeah.
On the snap swivel.
With a bluefish hook, nonetheless. Like a light 3407.
like a Shaughnessy long
Yeah,
shank.
Open eye, like an
Yeah.
open eye that he closed.
Yeah,
on
or the
snap
sidewash
swivel.
hook that everyone thought was a tuna hook.
Right.
You know, and it's hooked through the Sampo 800-pound swivel.
In
which
the hook bait.
Yeah, which is a giant swivel with the smallest snap ever made.
The actual barrel is bigger
Yeah.
than the fucking gap on the hook.
And
Yeah,
you're
I
like,
played a few of those.
oh, this is the best one. And he'll tell you that's the best. No, this is the way you got to do this for me. And it get like right there, I'm just like, wow, why is this happening to me? You know, like I guess everything I've ever done has not paid off.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
What does Mark know?
What does he know? He's only been doing this for
Yeah.
freaking ever. You know?
and there's
Holy
me and Shark,
shit.
you know, pressing everything. We're crimping everything. We're
Precision,
pulling-
accuracy.
Yeah, we're breaking it. Here he is, knots in the leader. You know, bang. You know, we're just hang him.
So funny, dude. I got like 3 things I want to cover before we wrap it up. Let's save this till the end. I think there'll be some
Fine,
funny
yeah,
shit.
that's fine.
Tagging big eyes.
Tagging big eyes.
We
So-
talked about this
Wait,
a
we
little
talking
bit
about
on the
fishing
phone.
now?
Yeah, we're talking about fishing. So most people know we catch a lot of big eyes. So
Yes.
that's one of our true passions.
What was your
Our
best day last year?
best day last year was 37 with 3 anglers. It was me, Shark, Michael Tucci,
Woody.
and Ryan Kelly, who Woody.
Woody,
I saw a little
That's
video of that.
insane,
Yeah.
dude.
Okay. So we found a pile of them. We caught 8. That's 8 in the dark. You know, trolling in the dark. And we're like, okay, this is good. We caught nothing all night. We caught 1 in the morning, and then they were gone. And we trolled around. Looked. We think we caught a white on the way down, and we went daytime. And I go, oh, Mike, let's just go daytime for a little bit. First rod down, 200-pounder, hangs himself. You know, we catch him, wind him right up. And I'm like, all right, let's go look for the big eyes before it was supposed to get rough. We were trying. We time our trips so we know we're going to get our ass kicked one point of the trip because
Yeah.
that's how we eliminate the amount of boats that are out there. We don't want to be around boats. I don't like people. You know, I don't want, you know.
You do, but you don't.
No, I do, but I don't. I only want my, you know, my people. You know, like people that
Your
deserve
little world.
to catch fish.
Yeah.
No, and it's people who put effort in. I got, not everyone's a jealous fisherman. I don't care who you are. You don't want to see anyone catch us. Like when Weber goes off next to you, he could be your best friend. You're like, that motherfucker, you know, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know. So we run back, and there's a green stick boat from Maine, like fishing on near the pile where we were, and I pull up, and he's just drifting, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? You know, you see, I'm calling him. This guy Isaac, we met. He pulled into our marina. This is just a little excerpt. Pulled in our marina. This great, crazy looking Dixon. We came in from Gilnet and we're like, look at this creature. You know what I mean? Like,
Where did
blue
it come
bandit
from?
reel.
Like-
Like,
Oh my
I'm
God.
like,
Machine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, beyond machine. 55 Dixon. Like, just please, everyone's dream tuna
Oh, yeah.
boat thing.
Oh, yeah.
Type, you know, everyone's like, you know, tongue out. I meet the guy. We bring him out drinking the first night. We get him absolutely ossified with us. He loves us, you know. Now we're best friends. So I see him drifting. I'm calling him. Nope. And it's like 3:30, 4 o'clock, and I find like 2 piles of fish. We take 2 laps and nothing. I'm like, oh man, it's gonna be a struggle. This is gonna suck. We turn around again, 3 on. Turn around again, 4 on. And then he's still like drifting into Never Land. I'm calling him like, bro, you might want to wake up, you know?
Yeah.
So he finally comes to and he's like, it's just me and my guy. We can't reel any more in. I'm like, oh my God. You know what I mean? You could see like he's
He's just been
stumbling.
cutting heads
yeah.
off.
Oh yeah. It's just,
He's like
Yeah.
reaching for the radio, like,
Yeah.
on his knees.
Under big
well,
eyes.
it's been something like Silence of the Lambs going on in the back of his boat, you know? He's like, oh, he goes, that's you? Because he doesn't know sport boats. You know, he's
Yeah.
never seen a Viking before, you know? He's probably just seen. So he goes, that's you? I go, yeah. I go, get your ass up. They're biting, you know? He's like, okay, you know? And we start trolling. And we had, I want to say it was 30, we had 9 when we started fishing, and then we did 30 in 5.5 hours. And it was the fastest pace fishing I've ever, it's as fast as you could humanly put a rod out. And we did a lot of like testing. We tested so much product for different companies. We actually, there was almost a mutiny on my boat at one point where I think Shark, I don't know what he really reeled in. I'm going to say it's at least 19 in a row. Because my boss was like, all right, I'm over this, boys.
Dude, you must look like Popeye after that.
I just put his hand in a rod. Like, don't stop hurting. We need numbers, you know?
No mercy.
Yeah. It was definitely the, Cobra Kai type. You want to think, Mark?
Strike first.
Yeah, I'm at a whole nother, I don't care if your arm hurts, you pull landscape duty type thing. I go, get back out here. And the next fish, everyone's bigger than the next one. Our buddy Woody, bro, it's bigger. I go, it's just another 130 pounder. Wind them in, and it's funny when you don't really care.
You get them.
We never lost a single one.
See, he does have calm factor. He doesn't care. Sometimes.
No. You want to see calm? There was so much adrenaline going there.
I am sure, dude.
I'm screaming and I'm yelling and I'm like, go! Just
big eyes all over the deck.
All over the deck. And
awesome.
like, we can't walk. I'm like, I really don't care. That's not my problem. That's a you problem. Deal with it. Turn the handle and let's go. So Walt Collette asked me to tag a bunch of big eyes whenever we got a chance. And most people, don't know. We didn't kill 37 big eyes. We only could fit 9 big eyes. We have 2 ice machines. We carry 2,500 pounds of ice. And that's about as much fish as we had with the sword. We had 2 fish bags and a 90-inch fish box filled. And that's all you should take. You don't need to kill 37. Yeah. I'm not about that. I don't need I'd much rather take video. I'm not doing it like the guy Isaac and selling all the fish. I don't care for that money. Plus, you're not going to take care of the fish that well unless you have that craft.
Right.
You need a slurry. You need your brine tank. You need this. And it's just, I don't need to, put rotten fish on a dock. It's also a commercial. Take care of what you got. You're going to get paid for what you get, and that's it.
Couldn't agree more.
So, and that's something that is every problem with canyon fishermen. It's just the seek, destroy, New York mentality. Can't kill it, harpoon it, sell it. We don't want to catch it.
Yeah.
Marlins, they don't exist.
Yeah.
So we basically fished up until sundown. It was rough, but I'm like, we all looked at each other like, we're never gonna see this. And I've been like waiting, honestly, my whole life for like a moment that we could just keep going. Shark, he's just sitting there, like kind of just panting.
You just got in a rhythm. It's like my arm was just moving.
They didn't take the harnesses off for five straight hours.
Just kept the harness on
and just kept putting them in. So but they would only eat certain baits. They would only eat a ballyhoo. They would only eat a plug. They wouldn't eat a lure. So, which is a weird thing. And I'm like, nope, streaker staying out. I don't care. We left the streaker out all day. And the last one we caught was like 180, 185. The biggest 180 lure. So we were trying different things. We actually put one rod in. You'll see some good Nomad tapes coming out with a one rod spread where Shark just sits there and filming and we count down and the rod just laps over. Where we take it right out of the package and just throw it in, crimp it on.
Whammo.
Wham. Yeah. So we did a lot of product testing.
How'd those hold up?
They held up. Everything, when you have a fish voraciously feeding, and I'm sure Kenton would tell you this, it doesn't matter what you really put in. But when it slowed up a little bit, I tried something else. We tried, like I was saying, I'm like, oh, let's just put big jets out. Let's just put big stuff so we catch big
fish. Yeah.
We put I'm sure you guys know about Yamashita squids.
Yep.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
One of the highest quality. We have Yamashita bars on my boat, 15 patterns, 15 inch.
Yeah.
Did not
big
catch
stuff.
Yeah, we're like, put the Yamashita out. Let's see this. Like filming everything, just watching it, not even a sniff. 2 straight hours, they didn't even look at the bar. Wouldn't even look at it. Wouldn't even look at it. They would swim physically. You'd watch them with their fins out of the water, come around the bar and eat the ballyhoo. Come around the bar, eat the plug. Come around, eat whatever else that we had out.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
So how did the tagging fold into that?
So the tagging then, once we got our fill and we started releasing them, after about 15, I'm like, all right, stop. Let's get this all set up. This is our opportunity for Walt. And we just started tagging every single fish. And we didn't tag the, bigger ones. I wanted to tag the medium sized ones, the 90 pounder, basically 75 to 115 pounders.
Yeah.
The ones that are in a certain class. Obviously the big, some of the bigger ones we kept, but I wanted to tag ones that, you're not going to keep either way. Personally, I don't, most people would just kill it and slaughter it, but you want to get a good diverse, and that's what Walt told me of what you want to tag. You don't want to just tag all big ones. That's just pointless, because the return factor is not.
Sure, that school fish size, 90 to 130 pounds, you get a lot more data back. They hang together. You're going to be able to have a better chance of tracking that movement.
So they can track them all, and we have a lot of other things on the table for this June and July that we're going to do more sat tagging and knowing where they go. And basically the only thing I could tell you on this podcast, everything we know, we don't know anything.
Yeah.
They go where they want.
Especially with those fish. Those things, like, depth-wise are insane.
I mean, you catch them in 1,000 feet of water. They come all the way up to the surface. It's crazy.
They're up in Canadian waters.
You really don't know much about them.
Everywhere.
Catch them in Florida,
half of
Key
them
West.
go. They think most of them go obviously north-south. You've seen some of the sat tagging stuff. But some of them go in the Azores. They go right back across the stream, or Josh Temple catches them up in Canada.
Yeah.
They have an unbelievable bigeye fishery in Canada.
And sword fishery.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Daytime. And once those guys figured the daytiming out, they just, another fish they'll eliminate off the planet, Thanks to Tim Pickett, But that was our single best day that we had. And it's
that's amazing.
I remember it was so rough, we could only jog going home. In my boat, we were only going 8 knots. And I had so much adrenaline, and I was already up for 2 days. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, no way that just happened. And we're looking at videos, because that's a problem, and you guys know this. You guys are working actively, and I give you guys a lot of credit. It's hard to take video. It's hard to take pictures unless that's what we're doing. Bryan, you're going to be the mate. I'm videoing. You have to put your foot down.
Double mate days is when we get our best shit.
Yeah,
so
100%.
And that's a big problem, because most of the time it's me, Shark, my boss, and 1 or 2 guests. And I got to he's got to watch the guests. I got to drive. I'm trying to leader, gaff, do everything. So that's a hard thing canyon fishing, because you don't know when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's a 38-hour trip or
You're just managing so much more.
At the same trolling, and then you're not going to just stand there with the iPad.
Yeah.
And we've tried doing the GoPro, but no matter what you do, I can tell you could go through 20 batteries, and then as soon as you change the battery, boom, here they come.
Always.
Always.
So it's just, that's a big factor of, we try to document it all, but tagging is very good.
It's cool. It's really cool.
It's actually kind of rewarding, and I obviously kill things for a living.
It is.
I think next year we used to tag a lot. I think next year we should bring it back.
We definitely need to get more involved in it on our boat next year.
Fish. We're just releasing so many fish just to release, And
I'll be the biggest, not hypocrite if you want to call it, but when I worked on a canyon runner, that's where I was designed. We have to catch 24 every night, and put that classic picture up of 20 something.
Yep.
Who the hell needs 24? Goddamn, people buying the styrofoam 7-Eleven cooler used to drive me up the wall, because they didn't know how much what every fish is.
Right.
Just like when you guys caught a 70-incher. The amount of meat.
It's outrageous.
Outrageous. Everyone's like, oh,
I want to kill it. I want to keep it. I'll take the meat. And then they see it in the cooler, and they're like, holy
you're getting a human's worth of meat. Yeah. Weird as that sounds, that's what it is.
Your body can only intake, 19 ounces to break that down over a period.
Exactly.
So your liver cannot, go, break down all your enzymes.
You're gonna turn into a fucking thermometer if you eat any more of this shit.
Yep.
We're gonna end with rapid fire, boys. I got some good ones. And I want you both to answer.
All right, who's gonna answer first?
I'm sure you will, because you're fucking quick draw McGraw. All right, if you could pick any celebrity, musician, actor, actress, anybody in the world to fish with on your boat, who would it be?
Oof. This is
Take your time. Take your time.
See, that could go. There's a lot of different avenues.
You can do multiple. You could
You know who mine would be?
You could rationalize it.
Jim Carrey.
That's a great pick. That's the most random thing I've ever heard.
I know, but how freaking hilarious would
that would be funny shit.
Actor would probably been Robert Shaw.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah, he's Quint from
Jaws.
Yeah, he was around.
I'll probably do Bill Murray.
Bill Murray, that's a good one.
That would be awesome. He'd probably be a good time.
Yeah.
Or Chris Farley or someone like that, but that would go. That would go bad quick.
Yeah.
Musician would be. I'm trying to think who would be good. Who would be a good musician?
Jimmy Buffett would be fun.
Yeah, he's got to be fun.
Or go on his boat.
Yeah, he's got a couple cool boats.
That's a tough call because you could go.
I saw him.
Do you want to laugh or do you want to you actually like catch the fish? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, you can know damn well.
My cheeks hurt.
It's gonna be.
It's a tough one.
Tough one.
I know.
It's a
Those
tough
some
one.
good answers. I like those. If you could go back in time to one location, so time frame and location with the Rebel, all of the gear you have currently, where would you go and when would it be?
That's a good one.
I know mine. I'd go back
anywhere in the world.
I'd go back to like the 70s, Ken Fraser time, Canada, and try to beat that number with what we have.
A good one.
That's what I would
be
do.
like 1985 Munson Canyon on a dragger. That you could stay in a big weather and 15 foot, and I just want like 600 LP. That's it. That's it. And I want to fish those big breaks they used to have where the draggers used to catch a lot of big eyes and a lot of, stuff when I was a little kid that used to see on the dock up there. The paratrollers and stuff like where they fished.
That's cool.
So that would be something I would want to see. Because you talk to any of that type of person who's fished on those boats, and I know them very well, and they said they've killed generations of fish just by the amount of fish they used to catch.
400-pound big eyes dressed.
Yeah,
it's like
dressed and showing those pictures of them like
insane.
and like hundreds of them on the deck. I'm like, what? They're like 400-pound dressed big eyes.
Yeah. We could look at some of the return slips like 380 dress, 390 dress. That's a serious fish.
Yeah.
So something like that where before technology has far exceeded fishing.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's our big problem.
Yep.
That's but I don't know. I would like to harpoon a whale, though. I can tell you that.
That would be a blast.
That would be a blast.
Actually,
yeah. The other night, I woke up. We were sail fishing. I just couldn't sleep the night before, and in the heart of the sea came on, and I'm like, oh yeah. I would like to just drill one of these things.
I watched that with my old man a couple weeks ago, and we said the exact same thing to each other. Can you fucking imagine doing that shit?
Well, the fact that he went all the way around the world to go find the whales, you're like, what the hell are you
Unreal.
Like the whale, you left Nantucket? Really?
Yeah.
You might as well drive 11 miles, sir. You could think we steamed 280 days south. Well, we had the steam 2 hours to the north. If they only knew that.
I know.
That's what probably happened.
Yeah,
probably did.
Probably
didn't
did.
know where.
They just didn't know to go left. Everyone knows to go right. Like you guys know to go east.
Yeah.
Right? That's your direction.
Yeah.
You don't know to go south. We know to go south. That's our human instinct, fisherman nature.
Yeah.
Like where we come out our inlet, we have to go southeast.
Yeah.
Like we just don't go to the southwest.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
But that's
funny.
a period of time that I would like
so
to be.
funny.
Be badass.
I'd want to be in Jurassic Park era just to see what kind of weird sharks,
Like
and
Cretaceous
just
period?
crazy weird shit that you could catch trolling spreader.
You're going way back.
Spreader bars.
like big
LP.
Fuck that.
Big
I'm trolling myself.
spreader
Fuck that. You ever seen Waterworld?
Kevin Costner,
Kevin Costner, the monkfish looking creature. that comes up?
trolling dolphins, skipping
100%.
dolphins.
He
and
trolls
seals.
himself. I'm in. Game on.
Amazing.
And with one spear, that's all I want. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I'll take that. But the biggest animals, like you said, troll a porpoise, troll something else.
Yep.
And
Porpoise would be cool. Just to see that bite.
Yeah, the explosion. That'd be fun.
Just to see a porpoise on a kite.
Could you imagine watching something eat a porpoise, Tom?
Dude, it would be amazing. And it would
one
happen.
of those megalodon type,
yeah,
your
dude.
sci-fi movies,
with flippers and legs and shit and spines. That'd be awesome.
Porpoise might not swim that good dead though. Like a
Could you rig a stick porpoise?
yeah, maybe flutter porpoise.
You got to break the spine, poop them.
Yeah,
You gotta
limber
do the
him
whole
up.
thing.
Backbone out.
Swim porpoise.
Couple more. Actually, no, one more good one. What's your biggest heartbreak battle? Or one of? I'm sure you have many.
I have two in my life. That one was on the Canyon Runner with me and Zajac. We were catching elephants nonstop, 60 fluoro, typical chunking night in August. I was letting it out, and we had a bunch of kids on the boat, like younger kids, like when I was 12 or 13, and they could be perfect size fish for them.
Yep.
Letting the sardine out, 60 fluoro. Here he comes, lock it up, hand it to the kid, and 15 feet behind the boat comes. It had to be, I don't like saying sizes, but I've caught a lot of big animals, but it was one of the biggest swordfish I've, is 550, comes airing out, full cartwheel, and I'm like, oh my God, and Mike's like, well, we just lost that, and we end up fighting it for 8 hours.
Holy shit.
I fought it on the bow for 5.5 hours myself, and then I was literally fighting the fish, and he goes, hey, Jack, and he was in the back catching elephants the entire time. And I'm sitting up there like, Ernest Hemingway, like fighting this thing on a 50T, and I'm stomping to get Phil up, and he wouldn't wake up. And then we chased it around, and he did one like weird half jump. He was hinged perfectly, not a bit of chafe. 8 hours in, with the little circle just pulls, and we pulled the leader back. I still have it at my house. Not a scratch on it.
Oh my God.
I'm like,
I would have lost my shit.
And I was like, and it's still to this day, and we've caught a lot of big ones, and we've caught, 300 pounder. I've caught a couple 400 pounders, but that one haunted me. And the other fish that haunted me
I got one, the bluefin we caught.
Well, that was...
we got to the boat, couldn't move it from like 100 feet down.
But it's also changed fishing. Maybe
it changed our tackle technique, yeah. We started off, we caught, a blue marlin right off the bat?
Yeah, 700 blue one right off the bat. And then we caught a white, and then we caught about a 180 bigeye. As we were fighting a 180 bigeye, there was another boat next to us. Meanwhile, you see the harpoon sticking 10 feet in the rod holder, and the guy goes, hey, Rebel, you on 68? And, typical Mark doesn't answer 68. And I'm like, he's the only one here. I got to talk to him. So I go up there. What are you fighting over there? Blue marlin? Yeah, haven't seen it yet, Meanwhile, we know, it was a bigeye, clear as day.
Yeah.
And so we end up catching the bigeye. Here comes sundown. And this was, 4 or 5 years ago?
4 years ago, yeah.
4 years ago, and it's almost pitch black. And on the right long, I'm telling you, it was the biggest explosion I've ever seen. Like, almost not real. Like, I was like, what was that?
It was it was like kind of dark, but like you saw like just a white,
like the whole spread
just
was an explosion.
It's almost like more white because it's like silhouette.
It was like an avalanche.
And the rod goes off. I'm like, what could that even be? Like, do we hook? I thought we like hooked a whale. Like, like obviously the flipper comes across.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's what it looked like. And I'm like, holy shit, what is that? And the reel's just like incinerating. I'm like, oh well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, knowing me, just full reverse, cutting everything off, backing up. I think Shark fought it for an hour and a half. Jimmy fought it for an hour and a half. And I fought it for 2.5 hours. Yeah. When he couldn't move it, and he's one of the better anglers I've ever seen, when he couldn't move after an hour and a half, and he never taps out, Shark, and I'm like, he goes, buddy, you're going to have to take this. And then Jimmy took it for a little while. Who's caught a lot of big fish with me too. And I'm like putting the heat on it. And we're got like,
is that the picture of the rod, like the tips in the water?
The tips, and that's a Baja Boomer 6130.
Yeah,
that's as hard as I could pull. That's a max drag on a 50 VISW. Yeah. The max.
So it's 58 pounds.
We were holding
plus the spool.
We were holding at the end where I was like, you know what, we got to take our chance. We saw it after 3 hours, and it was like, I want to say a buck after catching over. It was probably like a 110 incher bluefin.
Yeah,
but a racer, 110 inch, like
canyon,
a canyon racer.
Yeah.
Like,
just a devil.
Like the mark on the machine looked like, it was like 2 inches wide, and about, when you set your screen length, for, it was just going on and on and
just
on.
one big thick
I was
piece
like,
of spaghetti.
Whoa, okay. So it swam by the boat and was doing such a big circle. It would start on the port rigger, and the circle will come down under the boat and go off the starboard rigger.
Holy shit.
And then when you come off the starboard rigger, it would be on the surface.
Porpoise, yeah.
Yeah, it would just be that head laying there. And I'm like, oh God. Everyone knows at night, everything's bigger at night.
Yeah.
So obviously I'm like, wow, this thing is huge, like really big. So I'm pulling on it. I'm literally pulling. And then that's when we backed the drag off. I said, fuck this. Let's just see what this reel's got. And I'm like, well, the line didn't break now. It's not breaking. So I would hold the spool, since Shark's the only qualified individual under a lot of pressure. I'm like, Shark, I'm going to put the reel in free spool. I'm going to hold the spool, which is like, I could get my hand completely
100%. You're just changing the preset.
Yeah. So we backed it off to do it right. Most people probably just try turning the preset, just lock the reel up and blow it.
Yeah.
So we turn it all the way down. And I remember when I threw that drag back up, and everyone knows when the drag is up,
you stand
it's tight,
back and you're kind of
but it's getting tighter. I'm like, ooh, I've never felt it like that.
You hear that
I remember
noise,
pushing above the button, and it made the dip, and I just stood up. I'm like, oh man, this is it. It's not good, not good. I need an adult, and I'm pulling, and the line didn't break. I'm like, holy shit, we're gonna catch this thing. And then we stop it. We stop the turns, and I must have got 40 turns, and I'm like, all right, here he comes. And then as soon as he made one turn going down, I pulled and we parted him off.
Oh, damn.
And I'm like,
this is good.
No way. So I just put the rod down, like the scene from Jaws, the thing breaks, go inside. I get quiet.
No one said anything.
No one says a word, And then my buddy Richie, who's my partner, who hasn't seen anything because he just started canyon fishing with us, but he's a commercial fisherman his whole life, does the typical charter boat. No, we'll get him in the morning. No, we'll get them in the morning. If I have a pulse and you don't get me airlift.
Yeah, everybody's like,
off the back of my boat.
Oh yeah.
So I literally lay down. I don't remember doing this, but I crawled up on my helm, on the helm. I was so tired. Yeah. I slept with my head on the hot Simrad. It's like burning into my face. I was so exhausted, like mentally, and I'm like, of defeat. I'm like, well, I just blew that. That's, for me to blow it. That's like, and I blew it. I pulled two. We didn't have to do that, but 5.5 hours. The thing was still owning us after 5 hours. Yeah. Like we weren't even getting a shot. It was still at that. So I'm like, all right, next morning, 4 a.m. We'll get them in the morning. We start trolling, and then we ended up going 9 for 9 on big eyes. So
it made up a little bit.
You got close to
a lot of highs and lows on the trip.
Highs and lows, but it started. We always said this, and that's when that West Atlantis. That was in West Atlantis, and that was in that July bite, and that was like when Damon had 180 fish.
Yep.
We were the first guys there the day before. It was July, whatever it was, 8th or something like that.
Second week going into the third week, something like that.
We had like 18 big eyes.
So we were all there alone. There was one other boat who caught nothing. Yeah, which was still to this day, I'm still trying to find this guy.
He still had the hook guards on.
Yeah, he's that guy.
Oh, yeah.
But we always said if we didn't stay and look, if we would have caught the bluefin, we would have had to go home because you're not going to let it sit there on the net.
Right.
So we never would have caught the big eyes. No one would have known we caught the big eyes there. And if you didn't, let's just say someone else would have went to the next batch of water and those big eyes could have just floated away the next day. Because of information, I texted a couple people. Obviously, I'm in a business to sell information as well. And I remember telling Adam, and here come the boats, like, whoa, steaming down on us, full throttle. And then basically that 2-week bite started for that whole time. But we always said, like, if we caught the bluefin.
We would have never found the big eyes.
We never would have found the big eyes. We never would have caught, 10. What did we catch? 10 or 11?
11, I think.
11. Then we ended up with 11 that trip.
Savage.
Which is something of for the last 5 years, since we got this 52, we've had a double-digit day. Which to me is like, everyone's like, what's the most important thing? We've had a double-digit big eye day for every single.
Constant.
Yeah. Consistency is key. Everyone can catch lucky. You catch a 200, you catch a 300 pounder, my hat's off to you. But just like tournament fishing now has changed, like I've talked to a couple of tournament directors, it's who catches the lucky one that eats the one more skippy. It's not, you lose by a certain little bit. You can catch an amazing fish, like catching the big yellowfins in a tri-state. We caught a 100-pound yellowfin. We weren't even in the top 3. And I'm like, wow, that sucks. You know what I mean?
Wow.
But it also speaks to the class fish that's around now and the good fishing.
Well, it's a different.
That's crazy.
So
there's some big yellowfin around.
180-pound yellowfins, sickles.
Yeah.
It's like, where are we fishing?
And that's old school fishing that's starting to come back. We get the good water, the good fishing's gonna come.
It's awesome.
So it's But the most important thing, like anyone listening, like, try to always promote like getting kids involved. And that's like something, obviously you guys are a couple of years younger than Bryan and I.
Yeah.
And Shark. We actually never even mentioned his real name. Man of mystery.
Like, Bryan?
Yeah, like most people, it's like, oh, who's Bryan? Oh, Shark. It's getting like there's only a couple kids that I see like coming up into this, and that's a big problem. There's a lot of boats around. You look, there's 50 mate jobs available on some of the really good boats.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
We have a couple in the lineup now, or at least starting in the next few weeks, but we had like 20, 30, 40 people reach out. Only 2 actually like
pursued it.
Could really do it.
Yeah.
Everybody else.
Only 2 out of that many actually sent resumes. It wasn't like a one-liner.
I've had a lot of
on
mates
Instagram.
work for me, and
I can only fish on the weekends.
Yeah.
It's like
If you ever need help on the weekends, like
yeah, just let me know ahead of time. Well, there's this thing called weather, and when the fishing's good, it's just
that's a big problem.
It is.
That's a huge problem in our industry that you have to be. Obviously, it's cold and snowy out, or it's not good now. But then when it's May 1st to November 1st, I don't want to hear that you need a day off. There's no days off. We were discussing that on the way up. Like just a certain amount of time. And it's game on. I don't care about sleep. We got to power through it. You got to take a 2-hour nap and you got to go. Yep. And that's got to get things fixed. And you got to, that's what keeps
sleep
everything
on the Simrad, take a nap.
That was definitely
that was good.
I'm sure there would have been some good, but that was prior to like Instagram really going big, because that would have really made.
What about on the other end of the spectrum? What's like the fish that's your claim to fame, your own personal claim to fame?
Mahis?
Well, like
what's one that you like think of like this is my was my favorite catch, or my
I haven't had a favorite catch. I enjoy fishing. I just like being a fisherman. I don't care if I'm going to catch threadfin herring. I just came obviously in Florida for the last 2 weeks, sail fishing every day. We caught plenty of sails. I just want to go fishing. I just want to go to work every day. It doesn't really matter what I go do. Obviously, I like catching tunas and doing stuff I'm more comfortable with, but other stuff grows on you until I can tell you this, like when you get older, you appreciate different things. Like I used to marlin fishing. That's a fucking waste of time, but you catch a 700 and 800 pound blue marlin. I don't care who you are. If you don't think that's one of the coolest things on the planet, jumping and pulling and how strong they are, that's,
you shouldn't be doing it if you don't think that's
exactly. Until you catch one and see it, or trying to catch whites on pitching and more.
It's its own
entity. Everyone's got their specialized niche. I don't care if you just want to catch big. Like that to me is not, not everything. But being well-rounded is more important for me as a person, because this is what I do for a living. You need to be, being able to go to Florida and catch sailfish. You need to be able to go catch tunas. You need to be able to hold a conversation. But there's no fish that, tournaments are great. That's a period of highs and lows. Like I've won a lot of money in my life. I could tell you I've also lost a lot of money in my life by a pound or 2 pounds. And that's, you always remember your defeats. And that's how you get better and better. And having a team, and, that's why him and I work so well together. We don't really talk. Like everyone's like, well, what's going on? Usually when we fight a fish, it's the most awkward videos because no one says anything.
Yeah.
And we're going to insert like Thunderstruck or Welcome to
So he is calm. He just thinks he's...
We get the right bite on the right rod, and we make them eat, like in a tournament, we make the right fish eat on the right rod at the right time, with the right crew. It's a fluid machine. It's
awesome.
And but obviously you could have a downward spiral where if you lose one or two, it just the tension gets high. Mm-hmm. And we'll finish off with, we mentioned the mahi mark. We'll just get this right on here. I know there's about 50 DMs. I got Anders throwing up pictures of mahis on his Instagram. So the whole mahi mark comes into play. Obviously, in commercial fishing, we started commercial dolphin fishing on one of my gill netters because the monk fishing was slow. We started a couple of years ago. I go absolutely bananas about catching mahis because it's just like an addicting thing because you catch a lot of them. It's like the Samoan, team, fishing team where you're just cane pulling mahis. We're doing this on a 52 Viking, that's chamoised every day. So, I go crazy when we have to catch mahi. So I'm like, doesn't matter if we're catching them for fun. Like, you know, the owner will be like, you got to calm down. Like, I'm fine. You know, everyone relax. It's, like, it's just a mahi, relax. But this particular year, it was our...
My cheeks hurt right now.
Yeah, it was our mahi year because... in a tri-state, fishing was slow, like we talked about. It was just a slow period. We have 100-pound yellowfin. I'm like, oh, we're in. Like, this is like, it's the biggest one I've caught in you know, for especially trolling in the last couple of years. I'm like, we're at least getting first or second. And all I'm thinking in my head, all I gotta do is catch an albie. So I ran to another spot. We couldn't catch an albie. Like, everyone's catching albies around us because all we needed was a 2-pound albie because you have a big yellowfin, we have a small dolphin. And I'm up in the tower and I'm defeated. I can tell you that. In my eyes, I'm defeated. I want to perform every tournament. I want to go to scale. We have a good fish, but it's not confidence is high. You know, it's not yes, we're going to. So I'm just walking out of the tower and I'm like pissed off. I'm like, motherfucker, you suck. And I'm hard. I'm hard on myself. My dad was hard on me just to make me better. And that's one thing I can't thank my dad enough. I mean, even though I got yelled and screamed at, and I had a lot of good teachers, but it made me a better person and made me overcome. Sure. The confidence is high. And Tommy Howard screaming, tree! And I'm like, what? And I'm like, tree, Mark, turn the fucking boat! And I'm like, I turned the boat, like just because I'm halfway down the tower. I just remember grabbing the wheel and like miraculously turning, because I wasn't watching in front because I was already coming down and the tree was half submerged. And it was when the period down by us, it was when the Connecticut River flooded and all the trees are around. So it was tree. And I'm like, fuck. Whoa. And I'm like, he's like, we're all like, oh. And I'm just worried. I'm not worried about the mahis. I'm worried about the Veeam wheels that we, $40,000 set of wheels that are on the bottom of the boat. And here he comes out from the tree with its bull out of the water, fucking tailing. My boss goes, I'm like, don't grab that, and he grabs it and he has the pitch rod and the thing that slurps his ballyhoo right off on the ringer swivel. Like it grabbed it and just pulled it off. And I'm like, oh my God, no way this just happened.
This is like, yeah.
So this is where Mark goes into complete psychotic mode. So there's about, obviously, if you guys have ever found a tree offshore, there's more than one there.
Yeah.
So I see the fish. I'm in the tower and they're catching them. And we got 5 killers on the boat. Yeah. So out come the little rods, spinning rods. Like I said, Samoan, here they come. 5 at a clip. And they're not hooking the big one.
Yeah, and he's screaming.
I'm screaming.
Like, that's the wrong one.
Wrong one, you idiot. Do not hook that one. Obviously the smaller ones are more aggressive. The biggest fish is always the most aggressive on the first pass. You always catch the biggest bull or the cow. I don't see a cow. And I'm like, oh, where's the cow? You know what I mean? Where? And there's a lot of 10-pounders around. I'm like, what the fuck? And then here comes the big one paddling back. I see him back there. I'm in the tower. They can't see him. I'm like, oh, here he comes. And Jimmy's downstairs, who's my other mate for a long time. And here's Jimmy, like, hooking the 10-pounders. Everyone's like, oh, isn't this great? I'm like, hook the big one, please. It was like the
somebody. You don't see the big one, by the way.
You don't see it.
You can't see shit right there.
It's green. It's just money's everywhere.
It's the John Candy from the Great Outdoors with the bear scene. I'm like, I can't even tell. I'm like, do you see the fucking dolphin? No. And I'm hyperventilating in the towel. I'm like, that's it. You guys suck. You guys also, I lose my mind. I go downstairs. I wobble.
He gets quiet for a little bit.
I get quiet.
I'm like,
I go get my own rod, which I have. My own.
You have your own rod on the boat.
His own mahi rod. His own special mahi rod.
Oh my God.
Old cod rod. I used to come up to Stowaway and it's like my newel on it, like real
awesome.
I'm like, oh yeah, salt shaker's coming out. You know what I mean?
So is that what it's called, salt shaker?
It's actually called the meat.
The meat.
I'll just say so.
I got 4 potential names so far.
So I'm like, Jimmy, go grab a scoop of bait. When I tell you throw it, throw the bait in. So obviously he throws it in and Jimmy's got a rod and I'm like, hook it. And he's like, no, it's not the big one. I'm like, no, you moron, hook the little one. And he's like, why? I'm like, just once again, trust Mark. Please trust Mark. Like this is a Brady situation, I go to the other side of the boat. I flip out my, a squid head on 80-pound Andy. Like they have their bailing leaders. I have
yours,
the leader.
Okay,
you know, with like a 8-0 Gami on it. And I'm like, squid head. I throw it out. They're like, genius. There's no fish over there. Here he comes, hammering down. Bull eats it.
He's getting
love it.
Right away.
I go, all right, buddy. I just let him eat. I'm like, hopefully my 80 pink Andy holds. That's held every codfish in my life. I just lock him down. I just whack him. And Tommy's worked for me a long time. I'm like, Tommy, grab the gaff. I remember just holding the spool, and I took 4 turns, and I just held him, and I got his head out of the water. Tommy stroked it, flipped him in the boat. I go, well, there's your winner. We can go home now. You know,
that's amazing.
Hammer down, and we ended up winning $56,000 on the Mahi. So everyone can laugh all they want, you know. And it continues on. We fish one more tournament. Shark catches the next winning Mahi on the next trip. So
back you guys are the Mahi killers.
So
Mahi killers.
Doesn't matter about how many big eyes you catch.
Dude, the tuning on the Mahi killer.
Yeah. Mahi, Mark, and the Cockpit Bandits.
And that's what played at the at Ballard's, Mahi, Mark, and the Cockpit Bandits. But it ended up winning. But you got to know, you know, just it's a play. You catch all the other ones and bait and switch, and everyone's trying to catch the one, and you fish away from it because the big one charges it, and everyone's like, no way, you just, you know, like, because they've caught 5 or 6 each, and they can't get them to eat. Even my boss is like, of course you're gonna come down here and hook it.
Comes down from the tower, gets his rod, and puts a bait out right away.
Insta
bite. Not like I waited. The head hit the water. Like he saw me. Like, and I made direct contact. And I'm like, yeah, buddy, come on down the pipeline, you know. And I just remember whacking him, and it ran maybe 20 feet, and everyone's like, really?
Because he knew it was inevitable.
Oh, got it.
Did he just jump in the boat for you?
No, it literally just swam, and it put its head out, like textbook. Put its head out of the water. Here's Tommy like, whoop-ah! And I remember I physically jumped on it because, you know, like, because it goes crazy. I'm like, you know, my Lucky Merrick shirt, like, fuck this thing. And I'm like holding it. I'm like, put the boat in gear. We're going home, you know? And then we get him in the fish box. And then we all look at it. We're like, holy shit, that thing's actually really big.
How big was it in the end?
That was a 28 pounder, which is a big one.
It
especially
is
for up here.
For up here.
Nice one, yeah.
So then we're all, you know, as soon as we get service, you know, we look at 98 records from the tri-state from 1980 to now. What wins? And I'm like, I hope it's a bit, you know, our scales jumping around, and we ended up winning.
That's awesome, dude.
But doesn't have to always be a 280 big eye. Like that, to answer your question, like, to me, that's more memorable than anything else because I'm catching it with my boys, you know, and it's like a funny thing. Like everyone's like, oh, Mark's going to win the tuna. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that. Like, you know, the year before we caught a 70-pound albacore. You know, it's just as long as you're consistent.
70-pound albacore.
Yeah, of course.
You appreciate the whole situation, not the one.
Oh, yeah,
I'm not the guy in sitting in the World Series of Poker, you know, trying to bluff my, you know, my 2 straight. I'm not. That's not happening.
Yeah,
you know, I want to be consistent, and sooner or later you catch the card on the river, and you're gonna.
Yep. You're gonna have your 37 big eye day.
Yeah, and I don't want the roller coaster. I just want it good. Yep. You know, and that's better for me. It's better for my crew, and that's what keeps morale. Because when you go on lows, and everyone goes through their low, you know, it's like being a fisherman. You guys, you pull a hook one day, then you pull another hook, and then the next day you go out and the first fish eats a flutter bait, and you still pull the hook, and you're like, nope, okay, we should just go home right now. Wind them in, you know. Everyone should know that, you know. And then all of a sudden,
clicks,
something aligns, your morale changes, and boom, everyone's on.
Yep.
And then you're a fluid machine. And then you're just like, then you could just rip on them, like you guys putting your on your little boat and just towing 700 pounders. You know, like you could have 100-pound leader. Ain't breaking. Ain't crotch breaking. Hook ain't pulling. And think about how much drag when you guys are towing the thing. You know,
it is amazing how quick we can kill a fish on that boat.
It is
that smaller boat.
The weakest link is the hook. It's the only fucking thing that changes during the
because also the boat's different.
Yeah,
the boat's
soft.
light. It's soft. It's light. So you don't know. Do you fish a soft rod? Do you fish a stiff rod? You know, that's the big aspect, and that's all technology. And all of us think so much of it.
Yep.
Now do you fish light leaders and the soft tip, or you fish the heavy rod and heavy leader and get less bites and not pull the hook? And
right. Set balance.
Yeah.
It's what works for you too, your boat, the whole combination.
Yeah.
Boys, that was fucking awesome. That was 2 hours of glory right there.
That was 2 hours.
Oh, yeah.
2 hours of glory. Shark, pleasure having you on the
Thank
show.
you, sir.
Thank you
Mark,
for having
always
me.
a pleasure.
Always. Thank you, guys.
It's gonna be a fun weekend, Castafari.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited to meet Archie Jost. I haven't met him yet.
Arch he's old school, man. I've known him since I've been a little kid. He's one of the main guys that used to do it. Like, killed more fish than anyone's can either fathom.
I'd like to get him on this.
I would too.
Cool.
I would too.
Yeah. I mean, he's killed so many big animals, like a lot of famous pictures that everyone's seen, like that giant mako, like one of those giant makos hanging in the boat with, a couple 1,200, 1,300. That was on one of his boats, like
He's got 55-gallon drums full of swordfish
how many?
bills.
No, he doesn't have drums. No, it's storage sheds filled.
It's insane.
Yeah, crazy.
Absolutely
And
insane.
he showed some of the best guys. He showed, Ovich. He showed Anders. He's a very good teacher as well.
It's great.
He's also a guy that he's done it. He's been there through the worst of it, the best of it, the worst of it, the best of it. He's seen all different levels.
He's got instincts.
It is.
That's how we're going to end it. Thank you, boys, for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll end it on OG's 3 words of wisdom. Remember, you can't catch them if you don't have a hook in the water. Always trust your instincts. And the last one, you just have to keep listening. Stay tight, everybody. Thanks, boys.
You got it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for tuning in to the SeaBros Fishing Podcast. If you would like more information about today's guest, our episode, and show sponsors, or if you want to order hats and apparel, please visit our website at SeaBrosFishing.com. You can also stay up to date on all the latest SeaBros Fishing content and podcast episodes by following us on Instagram at SeaBros Fishing. Finally, to book a trip with us through our family-run charter fishing company, please visit MassBayGuides.com or see our latest updates and fishing reports by following Mass Bay Guides on Instagram and Facebook.